Thank you. I'm so very delighted to be here and want to thank St. Martin's Press and Cooper-Hewitt, my ultimate alma mater and mothership here, where I've had so much fun doing exhibitions and public programs for the last 16 years. In fact, this is the first exhibition I did at Cooper-Hewitt called Mechanical Brides, and it was a show about women and machines and technology. And I'm very pleased that my co-curator, Sherry Sandler, is sitting here in the audience, so I feel truly moved to be here and to be able to talk about my new project. Back then, 1993, I was 29 years old. I was a bride, but I didn't have kids. I didn't have a washing machine. I really didn't know what I was talking about in the housekeeping department. So now, 16 years later, I am the mechanical bride. And now this new book, which I did with my twin sister, Julia, is about design and how it works and doesn't work throughout our lives. And what I'm going to do this evening is share with you a few vignettes from the book, a few subjects from the book to give you a sense of the range of it. And it really ranges all over the place. BJ let me put anything in that we thought was interesting, basically. The book started out of a website that my sister and I created about 5 years ago called designyourlife.org, which is basically a place where we could complain about objects that annoy us and comment on trends and developments of interest to us. That's me and my sister in third grade. Same haircut, never goes out of style or never was in style. So these are some of the subjects that we looked at in the blog that then became part of this book. I once became the owner of the world's most beautiful toaster. This is a Rowenta toaster. It's designed by Jasper Morrison, fantastic product designer from the UK. My husband bought this toaster. He loves beautiful things. He does not know much about being in kitchens, but he does love beautiful things. And this beautiful toaster arrived at my home. It was ordered via mail order. And I took it out of the box and plugged it into the kitchen outlet. And it would not turn on. It was not creating toast. It was not toasting bread. It was not creating an electrical draw. And so I consulted the manual. Now, you may have never read a toaster manual before, but the Jasper comes with a 39-page manual in 7 languages. And I studied it and learned that my toaster had, quote, failed to initialize, meaning it wasn't going to turn on. And my only option was to put it back in the box and send it back to the manufacturer, which gave me 2 weeks to ponder the burning philosophical question, are toasters necessary? And I learned that there are many, many ways to make toast. You don't need a special appliance to do it. You can fry it in a pan with butter, delicious. If you like fire and are not, too cautious, you can put it directly in the gas flame of your stove. You can broil it in an oven. You can put it on your grill. But at the end of the day, the toaster is a very good device for making toast. It makes very reliable toast. Even a very ugly toaster like this one is pretty damn good at doing its job. Now, often when, a great appliance is discovered that people like a toaster, the designers and manufacturers then sit around and think about how they could make it better, how they could make it do more things. So this is a sort of dubious appliance that not only makes toast, but also poaches a single egg. And in my view, that's kind of messing up a good thing, right? And often we look at products that just have feature after feature and become more and more complex, when really often what users want is just to make toast. Now, there's various other things you can do with the same technology. And again, that's a design strategy to, think, here I've got a box with, wires inside. What else could we make besides toast? And then there's products like this, the toaster oven, which, is sort of the big, vague form of the toaster. And it not only makes toast, but it warms up pizza, or you can dry your socks in it, or whatever you might choose. And it kind of makes toast, but not as well as a toaster, right? So I like to think about this kind of continuum of products, and from something that does one thing well to the kind of universal type of appliance. And ultimately, I think the toaster is pretty good just the way it was. So thinking about mechanical brides and the whole history of women and technology, one of the things that we wrote about in our book is how technology has been integrated into kitchens, not just toasters, but smart technology. This is the first computer that was created for kitchens in 1969. It's a very large device, and here we've pictured Barbarella as the ideal housewife. Very large device. It has a surface here for putting your meats on, and it has a tiny little screen and a keyboard. And its only function was to collect recipes in the kitchen. So the manufacturers thought, this is what women will want to do with technology in their kitchen. They're going to want to have recipes. It cost as much as a tract house. $10,000. So it didn't really ever become a successful consumer product. Now, designers and manufacturers have continued to kind of chase this dream of technology in the kitchen and smart appliances. And one of the sort of recurring boondoggles is the media refrigerator. Now, this is a refrigerator that has some kind of screen delivering you, weather and television and, the stock market, whatever you might need to know about. This has also never been successful. And this is a contemporary product, but it has not been a big hit in the marketplace. I think most people just want their refrigerator to be a refrigerator. And this was a development around 2000, so-called startups, in Silicon Valley, created these appliances called internet appliances for the kitchen, which were intended to get, quote, women and people over 50 to use the internet. And they cost as much as a PC. They had no hard drive, so you couldn't put your own software on it. And they also controlled what websites you could go on. I guess so these, young men in Silicon Valley could determine what websites their moms were going to go look for recipes on. And they all had names like porn stars. And these were also a disaster. This was not a successful idea. And the notion you could have one in your bathroom that would let you make coffee, and popcorn. It would communicate to other appliances in the house. Kind of not such a great idea. Now, this is kind of the reality, right? And it's not so pretty. This is my sister's home office in her kitchen in Southern California. And yeah, she's got a computer in her kitchen, but it's just a computer. And it's what she works on, right? It's not limited to recipes. She writes books and prepares lectures and does whatever it is she needs to do on the internet. And there's her fridge, and it's just a big, dumb fridge. Right? It's got lots of graphic design on it, but it's just a big, dumb fridge. You'll notice that she has 2 computer screens, which is an idea that we got from Al Gore. This is Al Gore's office. And when this image was published after he got the Nobel Peace Prize, many of us wondered why the guy who's saving the world has so much paper on his desk. Right, that is a lot of paper. And one of the chapters of our book is called Piles. Everyone gets them. And it's about piles and how to feel good about your piles and how to manage them. And how all those piles of paper on Al Gore's office are actually a kind of visualization of his brain, right? That's the stuff he knows and the stuff he's thinking about. And once you put all those piles away somewhere, bury them in your file cabinet, they kind of stop being active, available information. And there you can see he's got all these extra computer screens, because being a little bit distracted is actually good for productivity. I talk about the visibility principle, right? So having those piles of paper out on your desk keeps them kind of available to you and visible. And it doesn't have to look bad. This is my colleague Jen Northrup's office. She's Director of Communications and Marketing here at Cooper-Hewitt. And she has the best piles, okay? Instead of having it on her desk, she has this wonderful stuff mounted to her wall. And that's like all the communications materials created by Cooper-Hewitt Museum over a several-year period. And by making that visible, she can constantly see where she's been, what the museum looks like, how it's representing itself to its world, making it visible. And another idea in offices about visibility, there's a term in office theory called prairie dogs. And prairie dogs are people who work in a kind of Dilbert cubescape like this, but every so often they pop their heads up to see what other people are doing, to kind of check out the landscape. And that's called being a prairie dog. And it's about maintaining that visibility of what's going on around you. And this is my sister's office again. And she can pop her head up and look at her kids who are playing Scrabble, right? No computer games yet. And she can check on them. And her theory is that if the kids know that she can see them and they know that they can see her, they leave her alone. And that's really the goal, right? She's trying to get her work done. Many women have home offices that are out in public space in the house. And men are more likely to have a kind of den that they retreat to. They shut the door, daddy's busy, leave daddy alone, right? But women are more likely to have an office space that's very public and accessible to everyone. And it actually helps them to be productive because the kids don't need that much. They just want to know that you can see them, right? And so that's the visibility principle. And then sometimes we don't want to work at home or in the office at all. Lots of people like to work at Starbucks. And this is what sociologists call the third place. It's a place that's neither home nor work. It's a public place, and often people like to go and work in those places, partly because of that buzz of activity and the kind of not being isolated, being visible, being out in the world can actually get your mind free from mundane concerns. Can also cause depression. We will write about anything. One thing that interests me very much is how design objects and spaces affect people's behavior. So in our book, we don't talk a lot about the latest style or the trendiest colors. We look more at behavior and the use of objects. You may have in your life at some point sat down on a toilet and confronted a situation like this. Now, this may have filled you with rage at the inconsiderate person who was last there and who failed to put a fresh roll of toilet paper on the dispenser. Now, when I see this, I don't feel full of rage at that person. I think this is a design problem. And the problem is that this type of spring-loaded toilet paper dispenser encourages bad behavior in people. Takes two hands, I've studied this, two hands and over 6 separate motions to release the old roll from that spring-loaded thing and insert a new one in there. My son recently told me he has no idea how these things even work. And I think there are many people who even live in houses that have this who really have no idea how it works. Now, a much better design is ones like this that are open-ended and allow you to very quickly remove and add rolls with one hand and very few gestures. Clearly a superior design. So why is it then that if you go to some place like Home Depot or Restoration Hardware, 9 out of 10 designs are spring-loaded, right? Why is that? Now, it seems that people like the security of knowing that their toilet paper roll is not going to fly off the thing into the water or wherever. And that sometimes, that emotional sense, right, that people want it to stay put, right? And so most of the designs that are available look like that, okay? And then there are other things that we see in public spaces. Locked toilet paper dispensers are very common on college campuses. Now, it turns out that college students go away to college and they steal toilet paper. Now, why would successful, prosperous young people steal toilet paper? Well, they get to college and they discover that toilet paper does not simply come out of the wall like electricity or breast milk, right? It actually has to be purchased. And so to control behavior, the unit is locked. Now, this is an experimental toilet paper roll design by the architect Shigeru Ban, who was invited to come up with the kind of toilet paper of the future. And he made one small change. He gave it a square core. And by doing that, now when someone goes to pull toilet paper off the roll, it bumps awkwardly, annoyingly against the wall and discourages people from taking too much. So again, it's behavior. It's a design that tries to control behavior. You know how some people will wrap their entire forearm in toilet paper? Well, they will not do that here because people are lazy. They just won't bother. I am one of the last people in the Western world to actually carry my luggage. It's a point of pride. It's kind of a macho thing. I'm sure I will die hunched and destroyed from carrying my bags of stuff. But it's called luggage, and you're supposed to lug it. That's my theory. Now, it's a brilliant idea to put wheels on things. I think everything should have wheels. But something annoys me at the airport or walking down the streets of Manhattan when everybody has their bags rolling behind them. Now, parents are told that our children should have wheels on their backpacks to protect them from spinal injury. I think the real problem there is homework. The kids have too much homework. And if they didn't have so much homework, they wouldn't have to drive their backpack off the bus, right? I think pretty soon kids won't have to carry anything, right? Everything will have wheels, little iPods in their lunchbox, and everything will just be like a little fleet of vehicles behind them. Okay, now looking at, users with their stuff, we can see that one guy takes up more room than the other guy, and that's okay. That's a free country. But here's what annoys me, okay? It's the behavior created by the machine, the object, right? This guy knows how much room he takes up, and this guy doesn't. And in fact, that's what roller bags are for, right? The whole purpose is to allow the person using it to forget that they have 36 inches of airspace, floor space occupied behind them. And so we, the pedestrians around them, have to stay aware. Okay, so it's a great product, brilliant, lets you pack, 3 seasons worth of clothing for a weekend trip. Excellent, couldn't live without it. But the behavior can be annoying. All objects are good, right? I have my own ideas about efficient ways to move luggage through the airport. There's lots of techniques available. This is like my big product idea is why not ride on luggage, like just motorize the whole thing? Just go right through airport security, why have to carry it or anything? Now, after a recent lecture, somebody sent me a link to a product that actually already does this. And it's the ride-on beer cooler so that you can, drive your beer across the parking lot at the stadium. And here's the doggy. Now, I thought dogs like to walk. right? But apparently they want to get a ride too, so we'll see a rise in canine obesity coming right up. Recently I've become interested in cup holders, right? Very impressive, like the obsession that we have with comfort and with constantly having a place for our food and drink to be administered to us. So I'd like to see design history be updated, and then we could put cup holders on a kind of seat upgrade, right? Upgrade all those historic icons so that you could have your big burp right there next to you. I travel a lot, usually by myself, and I've noticed that in hotels there's this kind of ever-growing proliferation of pillows. And pillows are a really fascinating design object. There's a way in which they are the ultimate ergonomic device, right? They're about creating a relationship between your body and the world. You can use more or less to create different positions, different thicknesses, and everybody has their obsession about what the perfect pillow is. But of course, pillows are also very symbolic, and they represent luxury and comfort kind of beyond their function. And certainly in this room, this was beyond function, right? So here I am, a woman traveling alone, and, I'm as creative as the next person in the bedroom, but what am I supposed to do with all these pillows, right? So the very act of just getting into the bed is a kind of project involving, mathematical analysis and so forth. So it's like way beyond function. Now here is a hotel room where I really felt at ease, right? This is how beds were made when I was a girl, right? Just tucked under the pillow like that. This bedspread has probably not been laundered since 1985. And so here I thought I was safe, right? Like this is my kind of bed. But I pull back the bedspread, and there they are, little ones, huddled together for warmth. You never know, right? So in our book, we have a little section about different ways to make your bed and what they might say about you, right? We all have our style of bed making. So we call this the dread spread, and that's the classic, the kind of matronly bosom, nice and square and tucked under there, and that's kind of good old-fashioned way of doing things. In contrast to this, the wedding cake, and that's a term that decorators use for a situation where you have a large stack of pillows in ascending order. Very romantic if there's room still there for the couple to climb in. McMansions are very big homes that require very big furniture. And there's actually entire furniture stores that sell this kind of giant overscaled furniture, because if you went to IKEA, where all the furniture is small and made for people who live in other parts of the world, it would look stupid in your McMansion. So they make these giant beds that you actually have to go up a flight of stairs to get into, and they have their own sheets and pillowcases and so forth to make up for that huge scale. Now, some people don't make their bed at all. Anybody here not make your bed? I have some honesty. Really, only two of you. Okay. See, I have a name for you too. Very brave. You are the existentialists. Okay? Because isn't it a lie, right? When people get up in the morning and smooth everything out, right? Their bed isn't any cleaner than yours. They didn't launder the sheets. It still has the skin cells and farts and all of that is still there from the night before. So there's a kind of honesty to just let it be what it is, right? Or this is for the poet. W.H. Auden was a great 20th century poet who was known not just for his poetry, but for his extremely messy apartment. And he kept his bed covered at all times with books and papers. Why not, right? Some years ago, I was at a lunch for a friend who had just adopted a beautiful baby girl from China, and she had brought her daughter home to New York City, and she was going to raise this daughter herself as a single mother in New York, and she was very excited and happy and exhausted. And one of the other women at the lunch said, you know, what you need is a husband. Now, this was like not the right thing to say, and there was this big silence, and quickly the married woman, recovered herself. She says, oh, no, what I mean is a husband, those corduroy pillows with the little arms on them, and you can sit in bed with your baby and have a beer and smoke a cigarette, and right? So, that kind of husband. Everyone should have a husband. I would even have a husband if they weren't so awful to look at. And we should all have a wife and a dog and anything else, right? Now, if you get bored with your husband, try the wedge. The wedge is an ergonomic pillow designed to elevate the pelvis during lovemaking. Now, whether that works or not, I don't know. But one thing I do know is it does pose decorating challenges. Very bad. As a graphic designer, one of my obsessions is signage, okay? And signage is that special field of creating the graphics that help you find the bathroom or the ticket counter or your mother's state of mental health or whatever it might be. And that's a whole field of graphic design. And in a well-planned project, the signage designer is there from the beginning working with the architect to create spaces that people can actually get around. Alas, this does not always happen. And you'll often wander into a brand new public space and see handmade signs everywhere created by the security guards and the administrative assistants. And these people are angry. They're angry at the people that are lost, right? And really they should be angry at the designers who failed to make the signage. But there is a whole kind of underground signage world out there. This is a sign from a bathroom in a little shopping mall near where I live, and it was posted there by a very angry woman. And I'll read you a little bit. I'll come in close. She's, please make sure you flush when you are finished, and pretend that we live in a civilized world where our parents have taught us proper manners, and by all means sit when using the toilet. Now, there's a lot of anger here. When I see things like this, I want to say, hold on, people. Turn off the caps lock. It's going to be okay. Okay. And I can't believe that someone who's so upset about her environment would make such an ugly sign. And there are many things that offend a graphic designer here. We have visible tape, which I just, I cannot abide by. We have, inexplicable pagination. Couldn't they get it to fit on one page? I wonder. So occasionally I have to take matters into my own hands, and I do guerrilla signage interventions in spaces like this. And I very carefully prepare the new signs at home using double stick Velcro, industrial strength, so that I can go into these spaces and very quickly mount the sign without getting arrested. But I have very good manners. So something I've learned from working at Cooper-Hewitt Museum is to put a layer of painter's tape between the sticky side of the Velcro and the wall, and this protects the wall, okay? So if you want to be a well-mannered guerrilla signage person, you add that little step, and then when you stick the sign on the wall, if someone wants to remove it, they won't tear all the paint off the wall. I know I'm crazy, right? But polite. So my daughter was out of school last week, and we decided to go and install a new sign there in the mall. So there she is with her bag of secret signage tools, getting it right, getting it nice and straight. So we did a nice sign that we framed. And here's the sign. Kindly dispose of paper towels, parking tickets, broken dreams, false promises, personal hygiene items, and other trash in the receptacles provided. Like, who doesn't put their stuff in the trash can? I don't get it. Like, they always have those things like don't flush your feminine things. Like, does anyone really flush their... Anyway, and then finally, please don't pee on the toilet seats. Now, over the next year, Ruby and I are going to visit this bathroom to see if anybody removes our sign, since it was illicitly placed there. And here's my theory, is that no one is going to touch my sign. Anybody walking into that bathroom, even the owner of the mall, will assume that someone more important than them put that sign up there. And that's the beauty of graphic design. Okay? It has authority to it, right? Get out of my face. Okay. So I'm going to end with a short little thing about underwear. For the guys in the room, I apologize. This is all true. And actually, the story for me started right here on the Upper East Side. There's a little bra shop on Madison Avenue called Intimacy. And for a while, they had a poster in their window that said that 80% of American women are wearing the wrong bra, and that this causes all kinds of problems, a kind of sagging of the profile and lowering of your credit rating and really terrible things. And I walked past this sign every day, and then finally I decided I would go in and find out the truth about my bra, whether it fit or not, which of course it didn't. And this is what I learned, and this is the kind of basic how-to for all of you. This is a mistake that women are making. The band is too big for 80% of you, and the cup is too small. Okay, that's the mistake that women make. They're deluded about the cup size, and then they wear this big band. And what happens is that the band rides up in the back, causing the front to come down. Okay, and it turns out that the band, architecturally, that's what's supporting the bust. Okay, and the purpose of the cup is to create shape. And over time, we've had different shapes, different fashions. We've had ice cream cones and rocket ships and hamburger buns. It all changes from decade to decade. I'm something of a purist. I think we should have very pure and ideal shapes. Sometimes people want the bra to just go away, and there's just kind of the support element. At the end of the day, many things for me come back to typography. There is no symmetry in typography, nor in the human body. And so even if your bra supposedly fits, it's never really going to fit because they're different. They hang different, they're different sizes, they point in different directions. So I guess you have a handmade bra that was really perfect, but who can say? And finally, my grandmother was of a generation that would not leave the house without a girdle. Now, she usually had other clothing on as well, but the girdle was an essential layer, and I thought it was like really scary. Fins and gills and straps and vents, and it was like really a piece of technology. And my mother was a 70s, free spirit, and she never wore a girdle. And I assumed that when I grew up, I was certainly never going to wear a girdle. But little did I know what technologies would be in store for my generation. We have power panties. Now, power panties are a seamless lycra kind of compression garment. They actually make them for men, too. They have some athletic name, but they'll hold your midsection very rigid. Very uncomfortable, but it creates this seamless effect under your clothes. And there are many women, young women in New York City, who wouldn't leave the house without their power panties. Now, here's the problem, is that at that point where the garment meets reality, there is this rebellion. And so they make power panties in different sizes depending on how much of your body you want to contain. there's really only one solution, which is to simply cover your whole body. Okay. So that's it. That's a brief tour of the book. Some objects, some practices. It's the whole enchilada. And I want to say thank you again to the audience. It was great to have you here and to see so many of my friends and colleagues. And thank you very much. It was a lot of fun to be here.